Stop for a moment and picture this all too common, quiet scene. You've just paid for something personal. Maybe it was a membership to a gym you promised yourself you'd use, a weekend away you desperately needed, or perhaps the expense of a few sessions with a therapist. The minute the transaction is complete, you feel it, a sharp, cold pang of anxiety. Not about the cost itself necessarily, but the profound guilt of spending that money on yourself. If you've experienced this, you know the guilt paradox. It's the bewildering moment when prioritizing your personal well-being, something everyone, from your doctor to your best friend, tells you is essential, suddenly feels like an irresponsible, self-indulgent failure. We find ourselves constantly trapped in this emotional debt. It feels easier, doesn't it, to say yes to the exhaustive demands of work, family, or community than to say yes to your own fundamental needs. We prioritize every external party over our own emotional and physical solvency. Here is the central truth we must confront. We have critically misclassified self-care. We treat it as an optional luxury, a reward to be earned or postponed until retirement. But this perspective fundamentally misunderstands its purpose. Self-care is not indulgence. It is preventative maintenance. It is a strategic necessity that secures your long-term ability to function, to earn, and to contribute. Think of the essential guidance given before any emergency. You must secure your own oxygen mask before attempting to assist others. You are of no use to anybody if you can't function. If you neglect your health to the point of breakdown, the eventual financial and emotional cost will far outweigh any small, immediate investment in prevention. To understand the source of this guilt, we have to look inside the system, the subconscious financial software running in your mind. For many people, the guilt is rooted in a fundamental clash with their self-worth. You likely cultivate a strong self-image defined by prudence, responsibility, and fiscal discipline. When you engage in discretionary spending, especially on something perceived as optional, it triggers cognitive dissonance, a powerful internal conflict between the belief system, I should be saving, and the action, I am spending on something optional. The resulting discomfort is the guilt. It's the feeling that you have betrayed your responsible self. This emotional pain is often managed by a powerful cognitive bias known as mental accounting. Behavioral economics shows that we don't treat all money as interchangeable. You mentally label funds, distinguishing between hard-earned money designated for necessities and happy money reserved for treats. When you buy a therapeutic service or a high-quality product, the objective value, the better health, the better outcome is high. This is the rational side, the acquisition utility. But if your mental accounts classify that expenditure into the frivolous bucket, the low emotional value, the low transaction utility kicks in. That psychological pain is the guilt telling you violated the rules of the necessity budget. And tragically, this cycle often accelerates when we are most vulnerable. When you are feeling sad, helpless, or under immense stress, the emotional need for immediate relief can be intense. Researchers call this the misery is not miserly effect. Studies have found that when people are sad, they are willing to pay up to 30% more for a product than when they are in a neutral mood. Shopping or retail therapy becomes an impulsive act because making a purchase decision restores a temporary feeling of power and control. This compensatory mechanism explains why genuine needs for sustained self-care are so frequently substituted by quick, high-cost splurges that fail to address the long-term stressor, only compounding the anxiety and shame later. Your internal conflicts are constantly amplified by external pressures and a culture that is explicitly designed to profit from your exhaustion. First, the toxicity of hustle culture. This pervasive social dynamic demands excessive work and prioritizes professional success above all else. It systematically instills the belief that taking breaks or relaxing is equivalent to being lazy or unproductive. Your self-worth becomes dangerously intertwined with output, sending the subconscious message that your value is derived from how much you do, not who you are. In this environment, any expenditure of time or money that doesn't directly contribute to quantifiable output is flagged by the system as unacceptable, triggering guilt. Second, the commodification of wellness. Marketers have capitalized on the anxiety created by the hustle. What began as essential acts of survival and resistance has been converted into a staggering $7 trillion global industry. They have created the overconsumption trap. Basic routines are replaced by elaborate, high-cost rituals, from simple cleansers to complex multi-step regimens involving serums and barrier creams. They thrive on creating urgency and a fear of missing out. FOMO. Social media then amplifies this, showcasing highlight reels of expensive self-care routines, from $200 skincare regimens to luxurious meditation retreats. For the average person, these impossible standards add a destructive layer of perceived failure to existing challenges. It reinforces the lie that real self-care must be expensive to be legitimate. The wellness industry profits by selling you temporary solutions to the very anxiety it helped create, pushing you toward consumerism instead of sustainable, structural changes. To finally defeat the guilt, we need to stop thinking about self-care as a subjective, emotional cost and start viewing it as an objective, quantifiable financial risk mitigator. The key is to reframe it as an insurance policy for your entire life. Medical and public health experts consistently confirm that self-care is not a luxury, but an essential component of health maintenance. People who practice consistent self-care experience better long-term health outcomes, including reduced chronic disease and improved cardiovascular health. From a purely financial perspective, small, consistent investments in physical and mental health are designed to minimize future catastrophic expenses. The cost of a few preventative therapy sessions or a gym membership is minuscule compared to the potential financial devastation caused by managing chronic disease, long-term disability, or long periods of lost income due to physical or mental incapacitation. Let's put a number on the cost of neglect. Burnout is a serious financial liability. Studies published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine reveal that the cost per burnout episode for an individual employee in the U.S. can range from $4,000 to $21,000. For a 1,000-employee company, the annual economic drain can be as high as $5 million. For you, unmanaged stress reduces cognitive function and productivity, directly hitting your earning potential. Moreover, the financial consequences extend to your relationships. Severe, prolonged self-neglect often manifests as relationship strain, potentially leading to divorce. For high earners, the resulting legal fees, division of assets, and ongoing support payments can permanently derail long-term financial plans. As financial advisors emphasize, protecting your mental and physical health is not a soft skill. It is a robust financial wellness strategy. The greatest financial risk is not the cost of the intervention, but the exponentially higher cost of the crisis that neglect inevitably precipitates. To permanently dismantle the guilt, you must consciously reclassify self-care as a non-negotiable insurance policy. Start with a deliberate mindset shift. Reflect on your inherited money beliefs and challenge the negative thoughts that define self-care as a failure of prudence. Accept that financial perfection is an unrealistic standard. Crucially, remember that effective self-care does not necessitate large expenses. The most potent acts of maintenance are often free, countering the marketing narrative that only expensive consumption is valid. Simple, consistent acts, taking a break from social media to reduce comparison and inadequacy, engaging with nature, or simply cleaning and organizing your physical space are powerful, inexpensive reminders that you deserve care and order. Finally, the ultimate self-care is taking control of your financial reality. Budgeting, tracking expenses, identifying triggers for impulse buying, and setting up automated savings transfers should be viewed as proactive acts of self-care. By establishing structure and confronting financial reality, you address a core driver of anxiety, clearing the mental space necessary for all other forms of preservation. You have the inherent ability to make independent choices that prioritize your well-being, even when those choices clash with external social pressure. So, here is your takeaway. Don't set yourself on fire just to keep others warm. Sustainable contribution requires personal solvency. The guilt you feel is a cue to adjust your definition of care, not to stop practicing it. Self-care is not a luxury. It is the strategy for sustainable wealth. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone you know who might be feeling that same pang of guilt, and let us know in the comments. What is one act of financial or emotional self-care you are going to schedule this week? Finally, if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more tips and strategies to grow your financial knowledge.